Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. This is Neil with Portal to Ascension. We are now officially live, and welcome to everybody in the chat room. Go ahead and say hi, everybody. If you're in the chat room, if you can, go ahead and type in the chat. Let's get some energy going today. We're in for an amazing day. And this event has been co-created by Soul Search and Portal to Ascension. And I'm just going to hand it right over to you, Tangela, because I want you to do the official introduction here, why this came about, what the intention is and all that. But let me just preface it with Tangela, for those of you who don't know, is the founder of Soul Search. SoulSearch.io is the website, a conscious event directory online. But more than that, an events directory for practitioners all over the world, and a resource for us in this awakening time where she's curating, if you will, all these people that are doing some incredible work to really assist us in this new reality. It's like the yellow pages for the next dimension. And not only that, she has co-created a few events with Portal to Ascension and is launching our new website. So the amount of connection, interaction, and friendship that we have is pretty much unprecedented. So I just am so grateful to be here with you, Tangela, at the beginning of the year to do this event. So thank you. Take it away. Really tell us why this is happening today. And who
Thanks so much, Neil. And thank you all for joining in. Definitely put in the chat where you guys are coming in from. I see Turkey, Sweden, Sedona, Minneapolis. So it's so exciting to be just connecting with everyone energetically from around the world. So happy to have you guys all here today. And so I am just so excited to be co-creating this event today with Neil Gar from Portal to Ascension. And just to introduce myself, I'm Tangela, the founder of SoulSearch.io, and we are an online global platform for healing, transformation, spirituality, and consciousness. And we're really here to support everyone on the planet in transformation and development beyond all of the old paradigms that we have been taught, define who we are, whether it's religion, family, culture, society. We are now in this new time of ascension where we can truly step into our higher selves. And we can do this with the support of one another. And that's what this event is about, becoming the quantum human evolution. And really, we wanted to bring about this for the new year, because this is about each one of us together becoming quantum humans. And I'm super excited to hear, our hosts and our panelists, what all of you guys have to say about what it means to be quantum human. But for each one of us, we really are stepping into our higher selves as we're creating this new earth together. And for those of you who know Neil Gar and Portal to Ascension, he has been creating high consciousness events for over a decade now, really creating this field of resonance for all of us to be connecting in the quantum field together. And now with Soul Search, we really are reaching out to everyone around the world and letting people know that wherever you are in your journey, we have so many modalities, so many healers, so many guides, so many community and friends available for supporting each one of us in this journey. So we're just really excited to have all of you guys coming in from all over the world. I see from Pakistan, Colorado, Michigan, Florida. It's just so wonderful to see and feel all of the connections coming in from everywhere. And this is the community that we're building together, a global community and a cosmic community, because we also have all of our friends coming in from across the universe, joining us and supporting us in this event as well. Seen and unseen, felt, and we'll be hearing from some of our hosts who can really see and feel them quite viscerally. So yes, Linda is saying this is a collective journey, and yes, 100%. This is a collective journey, Linda, and we're just so excited to be on this journey together with all of you. So wanted to welcome all of you, and then, of course, introduce my co-host. You guys know Neil Gar, founder of Portal to Ascension. He has been producing online and live events for spirituality and consciousness for over a decade. He is a leader in the field. And we're just so excited to be co-creating this event with him today. And Neil, if you want to say a few words about the event and becoming the quantum human.
Yes. So today's event is, first of all, this is only the second time we've done a panel day conference. So, and it doesn't really happen that often, like all day of panels. So really want to do hats off to the fact that we're doing something so unique and so amazing, where it's not just speaker after speaker, but it's panel discussions, because that's what's really all about. You know, I'm attempting in my own life, and what we're creating at Portal Ascension is to move away from just the presenter and the, you know, teaching you and the lecturer, but to have open discussions and conversations. So hopefully today we'll have some time for some questions from the audience. We'll get to interact and be more personable with this and have conversations about these different topics. And so today is an infusion of awareness and infusion of consciousness into the timeline for this 2023 year, starting it out with upliftment and empowerment, so that we can really take the tools that we're going to learn here and reflect on it ourselves and just move forward into this year fully empowered. Because, you know, at one point in my life, I was not about new year, you know, we're going to shift everything in this year and everything like that. Changed over the recent couple of years, because we really, the energy that we put into this new year collectively literally makes it that, you know, just so even if you don't want to do that, the fact that so many people are putting their energies in new year, new beginnings, new start, you know, this is a holographic universe. Our thoughts are manifesting our reality. The collective thoughts are putting into energy into the field that this is the beginning, a start. So many people put two different types of aspects in their resolution, right? Something's wrong, I need to fix it, and an intention, right? So what we're doing here is setting our collective intention for ourselves, and then our collective intention for the whole of humanity, because we've been through some rough times on Earth. And it's time for us to continue doing this work, go through the shadow so that we can come out into the light. And that's what I feel this event is for.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neil. That's great. And also want to introduce our co-host, Alan Steinfeld, New Realities, also a leader and way shower in this field, Alan. Alan, you have been bringing forth new realities, consciousness, new ways of being for decades now, having interviewed every single spiritual teacher over these past years on your prolific YouTube channel. And you're so active, you know, just as a speaker, as a teacher, and of course, your book, Making Contact, which is really leading the way. So just really want to welcome you for being here. And, you know, what do you have to say about today and what we're doing?
Well, I want to thank you for mentioning the book, because it's actually up for a People's Choice Award at the Conscious Life Expo. I'll put that link in the chat if people want to vote for that book. But
Awesome.
I think it's great to gather like this the beginning of a year, because I think something different is going to happen this year. I think we've been through 2 years of deep diving into ourselves, into our own inner world, and something's opening up this year, something expansive for our community and human consciousness and these other realms, the Making Contact realm. It's coming together. And I just did an astrology panel with predictions for the new year, and they say by March of 2023, we will be in these new energies. So to come here, to gather with friends and speakers who have been supporting and been part of this community for so long, we're planting the seed for this new time. And, you know, people say that all the time, it's a new time, but this, I think, this is really the new time. So, I know we'll say that next year too, but no, no, it's really, I think, something different happening in the collective consciousness, just what Soul Search is doing, what Scott is doing with Awakened World, what Neil, Portal to Ascension, and all the other people. We're bringing community together that's solidifying. Before this, we're kind of accessing, and now there's a solid force. It's a force, and that's just going to grow and expand more and more mainstream. People are going to say, hey, what are those guys doing? What are they talking about? How come there's no answers on the football game or drinking beer? Maybe these guys have some answers. Not that we have answers, but we just are framing the question differently. It's not how much you can accumulate, but why are we here? And how are we here for each other? That's what I think your whole platform's about. Soul search. We are searching for souls, the soul of each other. That's why I'm so drawn and so much I am supporting Soul Search. So thanks for pulling this together. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, thanks so much, Alan.
Yep.
So happy that you're here with us. It's so exciting. And just talking about the new year, I read a quote yesterday. Every year you make a resolution to change yourself. This year, make a resolution to be yourself.
Thank you.
And that's what this is about, being and becoming ourselves, relaxing into who we are, as I like to say, really feeling comfortable with who we are and the essence of who we are. And that's this journey we're all on together. And so I'm just so excited that we can really activate that feeling, you know, for each one of us as individuals and for the community here, connecting and reverberating that self-love, self-acceptance, and really stepping into who we truly are together around the world. So excited for all of us here today. And Alan, thanks for putting in the chat. Definitely vote for Alan's book in the People's Choice Book Award for the Conscious Life Expo. And then, you know, we're about to get started with our first panel for today. And the topic is release, surrender, and trust, the keys to becoming you. And I know Neil and Alan also have a lot to say about this topic, but I'd just like to go ahead and introduce our amazing panelists, such a diverse group we have here, starting with Keleena Malnar. Keleena is actually joining us from Ibiza, where she has been doing grid work. Amazing. And she is an international facilitator and way shower of ascension, as well as a divine feminine leader for our fifth dimensional crystalline new earth. She leads all souls home to their sacred hearts for healing and finding their authentic selves. And Keleena does amazing healing. She works with awakening activations at the cellular level from her galactic star family of light, angelics, and masters. She heals and works with light language. And she's really a powerful soul joining us today. And we're really excited to welcome her in her embodiment of the sacred cosmic mother and the divine feminine and the goddess, and bringing forth all of those energies to our panel, as we all are. But, you know, Keleena definitely works with this full embodiment. And also I'd like to welcome Laurie Wheeler. She is also an amazing healer. She is a transformational holistic practitioner with over 25 years of training in homeopathy, soul regression hypnotherapy. She works with codes of light, sacred geometry. She recalibrates dormant DNA in order to raise the soul's vibration. She also is a medical intuitive channel, also speaking light language, working with the interdimensionals, and is a shamanic practitioner. And her highest mission is to work with the principles of true healing and the energy force it seeks to transcend. So welcome, Laurie. And of course, last but not least, we have our favorite here, Scott Katamas, the creator of the Love Coach Academy and the Global Peace Tribe. So Scott here is a powerful healer, love coach, relationship coach, communications coach. So he really does work and understand with the interpersonal dynamics on a daily basis. And also he is a creator of community himself. He is the creator of the Global Peace Tribe and the Awakening World shows, which if you guys haven't checked out, you know, you can check out Wednesday nights, Saturday nights, and Sunday mornings, the Awakening World shows, where he has amazing healers, practitioners, musical artists, change makers on his shows. And he has been, again, supporting this awakening of consciousness his entire life as well. He has been facilitating classes and also creating television programming for decades, and he's worked with many leaders in the New Thought field, including Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, Wayne Dyer, Ram Dass, and more. So we're super excited to be welcoming you, Scott. So welcome to our wonderful panelists. Maybe like to go ahead and have one of you just go ahead and introduce yourselves a bit and speak a little bit about this topic today of release, surrender, and trust. And Laurie, I don't know if you'd like to begin and kick us off for the new year.
Sure. Thank you, Tangela. And thank you for everyone being here. And I'll say hello to my fellow Coloradans, as it's pretty chilly here. Kicking off the new year. And this is an interesting topic, a new year, new energy, new opportunities, so much fresh and new because we're at a new point in all of our lives, having come through what we have. So in regards to this topic of trust and surrender, this is something pretty close to my heart, and I'll explain why. So first I'll say my company is Wellness Within and Spirit Adventure Tours, and I've been in my work, it just seems like eons, but over 25 years now. And it came to me as I had, I've always channeled since I was a little girl, since I can absolutely remember, and actually saying to them, the guides and Jesus, I really didn't want to be here. I kind of knew I was in for a rough ride, and came into an abusive household, and so how to make my way through that. And I think I've always been on this path. I've always listened, and I've always followed what I've been guided to do. So I've kind of known my mission all along. But that's not to say that one does this with ease, this trust and surrender. I think it's something we have to develop, we have to come into, and we have to teach our own selves how to do this, because we all work within the ego and the brain, and this is not something that comes supernatural as a human being. So for me, back in my 30s, I actually built a house on native burial ground. And I came into this as a rude awakening, actually, I'll say. It was a heavy wake-up call for me. And one day I was in my backyard and felt called to lean up against this tree that was speaking to me. And I was brought to another reality, a simultaneous reality. And I got to see a whole other happening. And so that was sort of what I would consider my introduction. And through that, I met spirits and guides that helped me understand what was going on, what things were about. But I still had to relinquish and surrender and trust. And that took some time. One, because I think we don't always know who it is that's guiding us. And so if you don't have a relationship with these spirits and guides and beings of such, I think it's something that we need to be discerning of, because not everyone that comes is always of the most forthright and always having your best interests, because I've met many different beings as I've worked with many different beings. So simultaneous to this, I actually, my family became sick from toxic water on the land. And what it did personally to me was it made me lose my memory. So when you lose your memory, when you do not have your faculties to rely on, you have no choice but to develop something else that you can rely on. And even to this day, some of my memory is not complete, But what I do use is the other part of myself that allows all the information to come through. And I believe as a receptor, a communicator, and a translator of energy, this was part of the whole happening. Again, a very rude awakening. You know, I used to have to write a map to go to my town. And now you think, wow, that's pretty harsh, actually, when you can't remember how to do something. So I had to develop this, and I had to learn how to surrender myself, and then to trust that which brings the information and who you're speaking with. And building this relationship is very, very important. So I've had to, I would say, learn this. And I've also learned what I believe is the number one block of all of this is actually trusting what you're hearing, believing that it's real and that you can really follow it. So, and in many aspects of my work as a medical intuit, I have some medical background, but I am not a physician. So I've not done 7 years of medical background. So I've had to learn my symbology. I've had to learn how spirits speak. They all speak in a bit of a different way. They all have their own different feeling, just the way people do. And so learning how each one transmits their information. And I have so much more I can share, but I don't, I'll pass it along to someone else.
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much, Laurie. We're looking forward to learning more about that experience. But yes, losing your memory, you don't actually have any choice, I guess, but then to surrender, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
But it's
so,
a great thing.
So Scott, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and speak a little bit about this topic and why you think it's so important during this time, becoming quantum human, and what that means for you?
You know, I think most everybody knows me, so I don't want to really talk about myself. What I'd love to do is go right into the topic of quantum human, and I want to kind of riff a little bit on what Alan talked about. I am the founder of the Love Coach Academy. I've coached thousands of people over the years. And when people say, well, what's love coaching? How's it different from traditional therapy? That actually is the answer to what I think this panel is all about. In love coaching, we don't believe there's anything wrong with anyone. Now, in traditional therapy, God bless therapists, they've spent years studying how to evaluate and diagnose what's wrong with someone. And there certainly is a use for that. But I like to look at the idea that everyone has come into this world, like Laurie just described, with a unique set of challenges. Maybe that challenge is that you're high functioning autistic. Maybe that challenge is that you had parents that neglected you or abused you. Maybe that, challenge is that you've had a series of disillusionments in your life, or you're an earth angel and, the density of this planet is really hard. And so there's nothing fundamentally wrong with anyone, but it's a really hard place to be sometimes. And we are obviously spiritual beings, but we are having a human experience, and we are in animal bodies. And there's some wonderful things to that. Eating a peach is pretty amazing, right? Food, sex, the senses are really unique to being in these animal bodies where we're in the illusion of separation. But there's also the challenges of the illusion of separation. So first and foremost, really coming to terms with learning to love oneself and accepting oneself. We all say we want more love in this world. Well, let's start with self-love. And self-love starts with self-acceptance. And so I kind of wanted to anchor that in. And then the second thing, which kind of goes with that, the nature of most of the people that life sends to me for support are people that are going through really hard stuff. I'm working right now with people that are dealing with suicide in the family, death, cancer, you name it, divorce, hard stuff. And one of the things that I've learned, that I've observed after working with thousands of people, is that people who have a practice of some sort are able to navigate much more easily than people who don't have a practice. And I'm using the words practice intentionally, because it doesn't have to be religious. It can be. People who have a religious faith, that's beautiful. But I know a lot of people that their practice isn't connected to a religion. It's playing a musical instrument. It's doing a martial art form. It's doing yoga. It's walks in nature. For me, it's playing with my dog. We have different ways of connecting to that which is greater than ourself. So I guess the two little things that I really wanted to make sure that I started with today is really make this year a year that you're practicing acceptance of self, and make this a year that you also cultivate or put more energy into some form of a spiritual practice, meaning an opportunity to connect more consistently with life, with nature, with that which is, as Rumi called it, I love the term, the eternal beloved. So those are my opening thoughts.
Beautiful, Scott. Thank you. And yes, let's make this year a year of self-acceptance and self.
Yeah.
Exactly. Beautiful. And Keleena, love to have you now join the conversation. Give us an introduction of yourself and just, what release, surrender, and trust and becoming quantum human means for you.
Thank you. And thank you, Laurie and Scott. So when you said earlier about 2023, about being yourself, Tanjila, I completely agree with that. That's where we've been heading for so long. I myself have always, like Laurie, I've heard my guides since I was very young and had to go through that trust and surrender process in that way. They saved my life many times because I can hear them loud and clear when they would tell me, they asked me, well, they didn't tell me, they said very loudly, stop before I got hit by a car, before I would have gotten hit by a car. And there was other occasions as well. If I had not surrendered to listen to them and trusted them, I would not be here right now. So that was my process. And I know not everybody is clairaudient, not everybody can see. But there is a part of us, if you have that clear feeling, listen to the body. I always tell everybody, listen to your body. Your body's going to answer. It's going to give you the right direction. The body, this physical vessel, is a tool for us to use while we're here. And it's all integrated and it's interweaved and designed to work with everything. And it's very important. So the one thing that I teach my clients and my community is to know thyself, really step in and learn about who you are, feel yourself, dive in really deep so that you can be thyself. But you got to know thyself, love thyself, be thyself. That's how I go. Know thyself first so that you can love thyself, because there's where the acceptance is, where Scott was talking about the self-love, the acceptance, understanding who we are and loving every piece of us no matter what it's ever been, because that all allows us to agree that we are these human beings on the planet and sometimes things happen. And once we love ourselves, the forgiveness comes in, which is a key in the factor of this whole process. And then after that is when we can be ourselves. We can totally move into I call it transitioning. And then I'd like to say we reveal it to heal it. So we allow those things to come up to be revealed, to healed, so that we can be thyself. Total love and no fear. Trusting and surrendering is just so powerful in this process, not just to our guides, but trusting and surrendering within ourselves. And how do I say this? I have so many clients that don't trust themselves.
Mhm.
And that's the key. they don't trust themselves, so they run off to someone else to try and find the answers. And that's where I'm always teaching them, you don't need to go outside yourself, it's all within. I bring them back into the heart and feel where they can receive the answers and feel, trust the body, their instinct, that intuition. It's why everything has been given to us. It's all part of the, again, that interweaving and interdesigning of everything that we are. The quantumness for me, it's, I don't know how to explain it. As a multidimensional quantum energy healer, I literally see myself on the other side of the screen, like standing behind Laurie or behind Scott, like doing stuff. That's that part of the quantum. At the same time we're here, we're there. We're so multidimensional, and everything's happening so quickly, so fast, and we don't even have to think, about it anymore. It's just happening. It's processing, and it's, for me, it's through feeling and knowing, and again, trusting that why we're here and the things that we're doing, the things that we're seeing, all are in alignment with the true self, with the authentic being that we are. And while we while we're doing this, I've got all kinds of beings coming in. They're just like listening, and they're us. And they're our ancestors are us. We are all this and all one. So the quantumness and the multidimensionality all just goes back to me to one. It just goes back to one. It goes out, comes in. It's almost like a big, like the heartbeat. Does that make sense? Like it's in and out in a wave of energy, like ups and downs. That's all I see. I see it, and I don't know if I can explain it that well, but that's how I see it and feel it and try to verbalize it.
Beautiful. Thanks, Keleena. So there's so much coming up between all of you in terms of acceptance of self, love of self, forgiveness of self in becoming the quantum human. And some people may think, oh, well, that's just the basics. But as you guys have shared, it's not the basics, it's everything. So, what would each of you like to say just about that? And for all of our, we have, everyone joining in on Zoom here on the chat, definitely feel free to ask your questions as well for Keleena, Laurie, and Scott. We'd love to have you guys in this conversation. But, what do you guys feel is like keeping people from this trusting within, trusting, that self-trust, that self-acceptance? I know that's a huge question, but I just love to hear what your thoughts on this. And I see Connie is coming in. Oh, and she's talking about her online course. Beautiful. So Connie, who's tuning in, she has a beautiful online course called The Dance of Souls, The Relationship Revolution, which applies our trust frequency principles to relationships with ourselves. So beautiful. I love how people around the world, everyone is really connecting in with this trust frequency. So love to hear what you all have to say. Scott, Keleena, Laurie, you're working with people every day. What are some of the biggest issues you see coming up? Oh, Scott, you're on mute.
I'd like to say something. So I work in soul regression for many years now, and I work with people, and most times people, when they want to do regression, one of the very first things they say is, I don't know if I can do it. So they're right there. The fear begins to show up, and I'm not sure it will be able to come in for me. And I always tell people, rest assured, there's very minimal amount of people that can't do it. And the reason for this is because we go into every single day, we go into the lower brainwave frequencies and we come out of them during our sleep. So going in and coming out. And in those times, this is where I want to say the doorways begin to open, that we access this, we allow for the information to come in. Now, I think it was Keleena that mentioned something about the visions and the different, if you're not clairvoyant. you don't have to be clairvoyant. There are many people that are not clairvoyant, meaning you have your information comes by way of the visual. And sometimes, our visual is much like our dreams. We have to interpret them. So you have to have a sort of what I consider a dictionary of your own symbology, because do not take it literally. It is too confusing to be literal. What I say is, it's more of a feeling. What's important in the dream is more of what's the feeling that's coming in from it. But if you're not clairvoyant, you may be clairaudient, you may be clairsentient. And so there's 5 different ways that we, through our senses, get to experience. And there are, for every single person, some that are more apparent than others. So if you are 1 or 2 of those, and what I would suggest is to develop the others a little bit more, ask for that information to come in by way of that. Many people talk about goosebumps when they're receiving information, and that coming through the higher self as confirmation. So, and now I'll just mention that as we're clearing the 7 chakras of the body, and each one having its own essence and relating to particular experience and what is going on within the function of your system, we are moving in very strongly into the upper chakras and the one that connects us to Mother Earth. So there's a lot of information that is coming by way of these chakras. And so as you're cleaning out your physical 7, we're also moving into these other chakras where this is where we're accessing information also. And so it's about letting go of our control. And that's our human experience, to allow this to come through, to just sit like a child. I can remember standing on the edge of a pool and just going, jump, because you trust the other person on the other side. And so it's very much like this, just jump, trust. And if you don't have that trust, it's something to develop. Begin with the smaller aspects. And I often say, like a parking spot or something very small that, it's easier to give up the control to. The larger aspects, the heavier, the more intensive, the ones that are very difficult for us to give up control of, those are the harder ones. So practice with the easier ones.
Thanks, Laurie. Scott, did you want to jump in and say something? I know you were.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I do want to say Connie's work with the trust frequency is excellent. I highly recommend it. And so I guess I want to continue with, you asked, why is it so difficult? And I think there's 2 major things that make it difficult. One is, as I had said before, we are in the illusion of separation. And it's very easy to feel isolated and all alone. Again, those who have cultivated a genuine experience of oneness, a genuine experience of connection to God, the eternal beloved, whether it's through a religious form or through meditation, it's a lot easier because we're not as identified with just being in this body. So whatever we can do to remember that it's an illusion of separation. There's a fascinating time that we're in because our quantum physicists have proven scientifically what the great mystics have always been saying, that we are, from a scientific point of view, in this unified field of ever-changing molecules, and that there really is oneness. There's only one unified field that we're all a part of. We had Deepak Chopra on the show several times, actually, and on one of the shows, he said that the average person, if they live to be, say, 90 years old, will share approximately 10,000 molecules with every other person who has ever lived. Think about that. I mean, talk about oneness, talking about that connection, right? It's kind of fascinating. So, and of course, that scientifically is what the great spiritual teachers have been telling us forever. The second thing that causes a lot of fear, makes it difficult, is the media. Now, listen, I'm in the media. I've won Emmy Awards, I've produced television, and I'm not as anti-media as many people. And sorry, Ellen Steinfeld, you made a little thing, but I watch football games. There's nothing wrong with watching football. You could be spiritual and watch sports. Just want to make that clear. So I'm not an anti-media guy, but obviously the news focuses on what's wrong. And there's a lot of really scary stuff. There's a crazy guy who's got nuclear weapons in Russia. There's crazy, scary things going on. And we get fed that constantly. So it's really important to feed yourself with what Alan provides on New Realities, what Tangela provides through Soul Search, what we provide several times a week through the Awakening World shows. Definitely feast on the wisdom and the inspiration and find people that you relate to who are inspiring and do things in life that inspire and uplift and raise the vibration. Because really that's like the antidote to the illusion of separation and what we're fed through the media. So there's my thoughts on that.
Exactly. We are not separated. As we can all see here together, we're connected. We have people joining in from all over the world. Welcome from Belgium. We just have a Ellie from Belgium joining us. So, we're so connected. And also joining us in from Ibiza, Keleena. What about you? What do you have? What are your thoughts on what we're discussing here?
Well, one of the things that I see a lot is releasing the fear of the programming and the conditioning as children that we grow into with the adults. And that's really big. I see that with a lot of my clients. And it's really hard when you've really been programmed intensely, I want to say. It's been hard for a lot of them. But once they get that aha moment and they realize the power that's within them of their own I am presence, that's when that light bulb goes. That's when the enlightening starts. That's when the magic, the alchemy, everything comes together and they start to grow and they start to trust themselves and understand themselves at a totally different level than they've ever understood themselves before, because they're tapping into the consciousness of God. I'm going to say the I am presence, and the energy, everything shifts. Everything. Let's see, I've got beings talking to me while I'm speaking at the same time. So I want to have my own thoughts, but they're saying leaving totalitarianism. I think that's the word that they're saying, and I'm really not familiar with that word so much. But so moving away from that program and conditioning, it allows us to integrate. And Scott was talking about before how you could still be spiritual and watch football or do sports or whatever. And I do know a lot of people that are very spiritual and they love to enjoy those things. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the human part of it. But we're integrating this year. What I'm really seeing is a deeper connection and integration of our whole, the I am presence, the higher self is the oneness into the human vessel that we are. It's never been separate. It's just having to awaken to it, to really allow it coming online and really surrendering to it, to make each step, each and every day in the moment of now. It's so, to me, it's so intense right now. If I make the wrong choice on something because my ego's going, I'm supposed to be doing this, it's like, no, whoop, you're doing this. And it's just like that. And I'm like, oh, so that's what I feel is really big in this transition right now. And this is the big thing that I'm really seeing and feeling for everyone to surrender to in 2023. Is really allowing that integration into the earth human, and you can enjoy those things like Scott was saying, and we can be these benevolent, loving presence that our God goddess selves here on this planet, in that higher vibration and frequency. That's what we're here for Gaia. And I feel we're doing it.
Mhm.
Great. I love, and Keleena, just, I think we had a comment from one of our audience, if you could increase the volume for yourself, or just speak a little bit more loudly, that would be great. But one of the words that your guides brought in, I thought was fascinating, totalitarianism.
Mhm.
So, when you were speaking up programming, they said the word, releasing, leaving totalitarianism.
Mhm.
And, when you were talking about releasing these programs from childhood, and that is, a very strong word, totalitarianism, like, an authoritarian regime that controls everything. That's what that is. And I'd love to hear from, our panelists, like, what do you guys think about that word and the description of the programming that each one of us are experiencing as humans on this planet? And, as we are, moving forth into the quantum human, what is that transformation looking like?
I think it's different for every person. There are 8 billion of us humans, and each of us has our own unique journey back to love, back to God, back to life, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, I just honoring each person's journey. I've done a lot of shows on near-death experiences and interviewed a lot of the key people. And what we learned from the people who've died and come back is the meaning of life is we're here to learn to love. But each person has their own unique challenge. I mean, to learn to love myself, even though I lost my legs in the car accident, or I'm an alcoholic, or my father beat me, or whatever it is. And so for some people, it's breaking free from a totalitarian world. And for other people, it's a whole different challenge, So I guess I just want to say that I think each person has a very unique journey of learning self-acceptance, learning to love themselves. And sometimes learning to love yourself is learning how to set boundaries. Other times, learning to love is learning how to have compassion. So, yeah, I think it's extremely diverse. I personally don't like to buy into the totalitarian thought form. I recognize that there's a lot of conspiracy theories, and all conspiracy theories are based on some kernel of truth, right? There is something there that then can hook people in. I personally don't find that the people I know that go down that track enjoy life as much as I want to enjoy life. So, that's all I'll say about that.
So Keleena or Laurie, did you guys want to comment on that? And again, I encourage the audience to, feel free to jump in and ask questions here as well, in terms of your own personal experience in becoming quantum human and release, surrender, and trust.
I just feel, I'm sorry, Laurie, you want to go?
No, go. It's okay. Yeah.
From the word, because I really don't understand the word because I don't use it. It's not part of my vocabulary, but I think I'm feeling into what it is. We're taking our freedom from that. And that's one of the reasons we are here in our assistance to Gaia, first and foremost, in humanity. So for me, we're doing the opposite. Those of us that are spiritually awake, we're here to help lead the people home. And when we lead them back to their hearts, our hearts are our freedom. That's what I feel. This is where we find our peace. This is where we find our freedom, our love, and our joy. So,
yeah. And if I can just say something on what you're talking about, Keleena, I love that about the concept of freedom, because that's really what we're doing. The release is the freedom. I love that. I mean, that's the end result we're all desiring, right? And I think oftentimes what comes with freedom, I'm going to back up a little bit, is we're impatient as a society. And we've gotten that way more and more, that we really want to have everything come in our timing. But one aspect to developing this is, I think, is the development of patience, and understand that everything is in its divine time as it occurs. Don't put the cart before the horse, so to speak, because I know I've done that. And that is not, it's like very simply, opening a bottle of wine before it's time. It's going to taste like vinegar, right? So it's not the right time. Timing is everything in our world. But with patience, knowing the right time to take action on what we're hearing as our guidance. When we, there's this beautiful momentum. It's like a dance. If you've ever danced with somebody or ridden a wave, like I've surfed, and when you're surfing, you catch that energy, and just that right feeling of when it is to get up on your board and move with the flow. It's a flow. So taking action, having faith in your action, but we have to take action, but at the right moment. This is where we begin to teach ourselves how to have faith and trust, is in our action, by doing what we're feeling, what we're hearing, what is coming to us. And through that, we develop our choice, which ultimately then provides us with that freedom that we're all looking for. So it's a series of things that occur, that this is where this begins to develop. And this is how we gain momentum in our maturity as a soul. And what I've learned in regression also is that the earth is filled right now with very many young souls. They've come early on in their development. And I liken it to giving $10 to a kid in the candy store. They're going to go, oh, great, but not really discerning how to utilize it, So there are those of us, and everybody that's listening, I'm certain, is an old soul here today. But we're all here helping others, helping each other, helping others grow in this. Thank you.
Yes, and I want to just say something with what Laurie just said, because I totally agree with that. Also, surrendering to signs and synchronicities and events are so important with this transition and this process as well. Just like you were saying with the wave, the water, and riding it. Did you surf? Because how'd you know that?
Oh, I used to live in Hawaii, and yes, I have surfed, yes. And it's awesome. It's a spiritual experience because, if you're not feeling it, you're going to get knocked down. Not that knocking down is bad, because it's very similar to life, and I've done a lot of whitewater rafting, and I'll just say for a second, I remember having a guide on one of the journeys. We had maybe a raft of 10 people, and we're going out slow, and he says to us, okay, we're coming onto a squall. Now, a squall is this movement of water that moves really quick. And, if you don't know what you're doing, you can get knocked off your raft, right? And he says, okay, so what do you want to do here? Here's your choice, right? What do you want to do here? Do you want to avoid it, or do you want to go for it? And it's like we all said, yeah, we want to go for it, right? So you go for it, but you've got to navigate it at the same time. It's this feeling that you've got to feel how the movement is, because this is energy. It's all energy, and you feel it, This is very important for your action,
Exactly. And, when you're trying to navigate, you can get thrown off, you can fall off, that does happen. That's happened to me many times. You know what? You just pick yourself up and get back on. And that's really what life is about, right? Like, you are going to be thrown off. You are going to, hit those hard waves, but it's then having those tools to really being able to get back on and keep going and navigating. And actually, we have a question coming in from one of our audience members saying, thank you for being here and providing your wisdom. Do you all have some tips, techniques, and routines that could help us to trust more and access more cosmic information?
I would love to tackle that.
Sure.
It's funny because I was going to say what I'm about to say anyway, so it fits into the question. So following up on what we've just been talking about, we're talking about being in the flow. And I think most of us know what it's like when we're in the flow of life and what it's like when we're not in the flow and we're getting knocked around. And so there's a mantra that I use. And again, I'm not religious about it. It's not dogmatic. I'll tell you the words that I use. And then I encourage people, you can use this one, I'll put it in the chat box also, or make up your own. But the bottom line is to come up with a mantra that helps you to feel aligned and to bring you into alignment. The mantra that I've been using for probably 30 years now is my will and thy will are one.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Always thy will be done.
Mm-hmm.
My will and thy will are one. Always thy will be done. I know that sounds a little bit biblical, and I actually don't like the Bible very much, but I just, those were the words that came to me. And when I'm noticing that I'm really off, I'll just do that mantra over and over and over and imagine, I literally imagine my higher self and my ego and personality are now coming into alignment. Then the other mantra that I use is, I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. Now, again, I'll put them into the chat box. You're more than welcome to take them or use them or adapt them or make up your own. But having a mantra that you do, and what's wonderful is now that I've done it thousands of times, I'll be in a coaching session and I won't know what to say, but I'll just kind of close my eyes and I'll run, I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through a couple of times. It immediately brings me back into place. My mouth opens, words come out. They're not coming from my brain or from my, logical part of my brain. And they turn out to be what spirit wants to say next. And I'm imagining that Laurie and Keleena probably have a similar, I'd be curious if you have a similar practice, yeah?
I have tons. I don't have one. I have one that I do in the sun every morning. I have to. It opens up my system, my channel. Well, clears it and everything from the nighttime. And I will say it here. I'm serious. I have tons of them because I've been doing this for a long time. And on my Patreon community, I have my first level twice a month. I give them new ones and it activates new things at the cellular level. But so that you have the cosmic connection, like they were asking about the cosmic connection, but it's actually just allowing everything to open up and integrate. So the thing that I say every morning, and I'm going to say this right now, and everyone can actually say it if they want to that are listening, because you'll be able to actually feel it. I normally say it in the sun, but as long as you can imagine the sun in front of you, if it's nighttime like it is here, and having your feet on the earth, we're so actually powerful now that I don't even have to have my feet on the earth anymore. I can be in this 2-story building and still feel Gaia enter me. Okay. So what I say is, when I'm facing the sun, I now teki utama, 1 minute, teki utama nakarashna shantotoria nama aki atar. The first thing I say is, I now align and drop into my divine sacred heart. Because many times, I'm going to explain that many times we get if we step out of the heart and we end up in the head, we want to bring ourselves back there. Mm-hmm. And then I say, I now allow the new codes of light for all that I am and all that I ever have been in the highest and purest, most benevolent love light of my source self, of my Christed I am presence. I am. And you can feel the energy moving through it's moving through me. I also ask Gaia, the first thing I ask Gaia in the morning is I go outside and I say, good morning, Gaia. It's very exciting for me to be up every morning. And I just say, good morning, Gaia, please connect me to your newer crystalline grid. See, I just said that. As soon as I said that, I get the energy just flows. It just throws me back. That's how powerful we are now. That's how connected we are if we're doing these things every morning. And so I have so many of these. Those are just a couple that I do every day in the morning. But yes, powerful. And Scott, thy will be done. That's another one I say. Not my will, but God's will be done. Yeah.
Laurie, did you want to share a practice or a technique or a tool from your side?
Sure. I think it depends on what's going on at any given moment as to what it might be that I would do. Sometimes it's as simple as just stopping my brain from thinking, because we can all be, and as it should be in a way, we live out of our brain and our function. But there's a moment that it's just stop so that I can hear the other, so that I can access that and just that without my brain. Because like Keleena said, sometimes you're hearing this and this is going on, and it could be a lot of chatter going on all simultaneous, right? So it's like, to be clear, I want to pull it all back and be clear. The other thing, so I just stop and I just listen to what's coming through without the brain chatter. Sometimes it's as simple as what I see is this beautiful transparent light that comes from source, and I bring it through the top of my head, in through my third eye, and down into my heart. Simultaneous, I am pulling up Mother Earth's energy, convening in my heart, and I just have this visual that my heart opens. And as it opens, I can feel it expand automatically. As it opens and opens, and it just gets broader and wider and more expansive. And that's when I know I'm down in my heart. And that is where I can trust, where the truth can come through and I can access it. And so it's just a moment of convene, and there it is. Because depending on what's going on, like I say, sometimes, yes, I have my own mantras and things that I will do, my prayers, but sometimes there's not time to do that depending on what the situation is. So I just want something real quick and boom, that will do this automatic reaction for me. Yeah.
Yep, I love that. Laurie, Keleena, Scott, very powerful practices. And I have similar ones as well. I mean, in the mornings, I do also dive into, deep practice, because that is when, all is silent. We're just emerging from the other realms. The momentum of the day has not started yet. And so that's really when I take the time to breathe and just relax. And really relax into my spiritual heart. And just really, truly, deeply feel at peace. And in that depth of the peaceful heart, I connect to source, feel the iridescent golden light of source flowing into me and through my crown chakra, lighting up my third eye, lighting up my throat chakra, expanding my heart, going into my solar plexus, sacral and root, and then down into the core of Mother Earth, connecting deep with Gaia. And then feeling her energy coming back through, back into the heart, expanding, brightening, reverberating, and then into the connection with cosmic source, and just creating that infinite loop of energy, going in and out, and feeling my heart expanding wider and wider and wider, lighter and lighter and lighter. I'm just breathing in that cosmic source of light and that divine feminine energy of Mother Gaia, and really connecting and knowing that I'm connected to all, and I am all, and I am love, I am light, I am peace. And so that is, that connection, and then being able to begin the day. But then what happens is the day happens and we get thrown off that board over and over again. And so, really being able to, like what Laurie said, stop, like whenever I feel myself like getting caught off guard or just thrown off, getting into that frustration, going in the spiral, really just pausing. And then again, really connecting to that peaceful depth of the spiritual heart and feeling at peace. And then just asking Source, saying, if it's something that I'm frustrated about, if it's something I'm confused, if I don't know the next step, I say, Source, you created this. I give it to you. And you show me, and you show me. And then I just let it go and see what comes through. And it's that is, a practice of mine to just give it back to Source. So when something comes my way, I say, okay, give it back to you and you show me what to do. Because if I'm going to stay in this mind, I don't know what choice I'm going to make. And I might make a choice out of anger, out of frustration, out of old programs, old ways of being and behaving, from my childhood, from my life. But I'm here to do something different and be something different and be someone different. And so, I will just let Source show me the next step, and it can be a surprise. And it's my daily practice of opening up my cosmic connections too.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Tantia, you know what though? This year is the year that it's going to quickly shift. If you try to do something out of anger, it's not going to let you. This is what I was shown with my 2023 stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. So, and that's, for a lot of us that are already, awake and been doing this for a while, but even the newly awakened, they're not going to know what's happening. They're like, but wait, that's what I really see happening this year. It's really going to align. You're going to have to stay in alignment. Our Source is getting like, no, press that button. You don't get the easy button today. You're going to get this. It's amazing. So I love how you said that, because it's going to shift. It's going to shift.
Yeah.
Shift happens.
Go ahead, Scott. Yeah.
That's all. Shift happens.
Shift happens. Exactly. But it's just how do we deal with that shift, right? I mean, I know from my own personal experiences, I grew up with a lot of programming, being I grew up in Saudi Arabia, I'm from Bangladesh, I'm grew up Muslim, so Muslim woman, there's a lot of cultural, social programs that I grew up with on how we should speak, how we should behave, what we should wear, what we should eat. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong or right, but all I'm saying is that, as I started, getting older, I was just like, this doesn't feel right to me. I don't feel right, like with these restrictions. I want to be able to wear what I want to wear. I want to be able to go out and do what I want to do. But then feeling that tension of like, but I'm not supposed to. I'm not supposed to. I've been told my whole life, I'm not supposed to do these things. I'm not supposed to wear shorts. I'm not supposed to, go out. I'm not supposed, and these things which maybe people here are like, why would that ever be something that you would think you're not allowed to wear? But that was my programming, right? That, at that level, and then it goes beyond that, but at that simple level. And then really the struggle of saying, is everything that I was taught wrong, or how do I fit in all of this? And just realizing that I lived a life where I felt completely restricted all the time. And no matter what culture, what country, where we're from, so many of us are walking around in every moment in this restriction, And so for me, it's like this process of becoming quantum human is about that release of letting go of those restrictions that we've grown up with and saying, hey, that's not me. It doesn't mean I have a judgment on it, but that's not me. That's not who I am. That's not my life. That's not my way. And this is what I choose. And that can be hard,
Can I share something really quick that happened in France? I didn't fly just for visa. I flew into Amsterdam and I've gone all through Europe doing great work. And when we were in France, this is funny. I wear white all year round, okay? All white. I was in a ladies' room, a goddess room at a place. And I was washing my hands and I heard these ladies whisper that were French, that I was wearing white, all white, and it's after whatever time of year it is. And I'm just like, so I was just washing my hands and I just kindly looked at them. I said, yes, I am. And I'm from the USA. So, I'm American too. I said, but I said, it's a marketing thing. You can wear whatever color you want any time of the year. And I don't fall into those traps. And I just dried my hands and walked out. And they were like, oh, so there's so much like programming at all different levels. It's like, wake up, just wake up and let people be who they are, be themselves, and just like you said, wear what you want, think what you want, do what you want, say what you want, all on alignment.
If I could just, go ahead, Scott, sorry.
Go ahead, Laurie.
On the heels of what Keleena is talking about, thank you. I love what you're saying, that whole concept of the white thing. And we're seeing people with all different color hair and all different everything. This pendulum is really swinging all the way the other way because we're taking action in making decision for ourselves about what feels right for us. And so last week, if you had purple hair, next week you may change it to a different color, whatever. It's just at the moment what feels right. It allows your freedom of expression of your internal to come out. And I just want to mention, as adults, we have much further, what I'll say, executive thinking. We can say, well, if I want to dye my hair purple, I can. If I want to wear white, I can. But during the COVID time, I started to really think more about the young people. Young people do not have the capability of the freedoms like we do as adults because we're still under what I'll call parental rule, right? Or, the young, they want to be more like everybody else, right? Rather than their own separate individual. I call it dance to the beat of your own drum. And I feel like I've always done that my own life. Everybody was doing this, I go this way. It's just always been my nature. So I get what that really feels like for young people. And I just wanted to go back for a minute and just for young people, I wrote a activity book and I put together a compilation of guided meditations for young people, children, tweens, and teens. And in it, I began because I started it with my grandson. And one day, and I know we've probably all done this, but this is not something young people think about. We started to bring in the mantras and the visualizations, how to be connected, going back to our conversation. And it was simply just taking the roots as if you're a tree, hold your hands out. Those are your branches, put them up high, reach to the sky, bring in that beautiful energy, bring it down and feel it, your feet being the roots in the earth and connecting to the earth so that we're grounded, so that we can come from our own internal self rather than what's on the outside dictating to us how we need to be. And I think kids need this really easy concept because we understand this, but young people don't, or those who are new coming into this. they may need a more simplistic way. So I just wanted to mention that before we went on, and thank you.
I was just going to acknowledge what an amazing role model Tangela is. I mean, when you think about her background and the incredibly diversity of her experience, and how perfect that you've become a global community builder, Tangela. I have so much respect for you, and it's really your life story is a beautiful example of transformation, you know, and the courage to move forward. So, you know, with that, I just want to acknowledge that certainly everybody watching is having their own unique hero's journey. And it does require courage to do the things we're talking about, to cultivate a practice, to trust, to notice this relationship doesn't feel right. This job doesn't feel right. This house doesn't feel right. Maybe it once did, probably once did. Most of what we've done at some point felt right, or it's what we knew. But we are in an incredible time of change. And so maximum grace for us all, and maximum grace for finding the courage to change when it's really uncomfortable to change. What's familiar is safe. It's the bird in the cage. You open up the door and the bird doesn't leave. Do you know that the vast majority of slaves chose to stay on the plantation? After the Emancipation Proclamation, the majority of slaves decided to stay where they knew. And so human nature is to stay what we know, even if it's uncomfortable, at least it's familiar. And so with Tangela as our role model, may we all just take a look at, okay, what's familiar but uncomfortable? And what's calling for me to make a move, to make a change? Because right now, the world has to radically change and is radically changing, and humanity has to radically evolve. And that starts with each and every one of us. Each and every one of us has our own unique hero's journey of evolution. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Scott. And thanks for acknowledging me. And I really appreciate that. But exactly, like each one of us has our own hero's journey. And I see here we have Ellie coming in from Belgium saying she is Turkish, has different cultural backgrounds, and it is a shame and a sin to get a tattoo. But she did it anyway. I did it anyway because I want to be me. Best decision ever. Amazing. Congratulations. That's huge, because these steps that we take, someone else sitting and watching me like, what? I have 20 tattoos, or what's wrong with tattoos? Why would anyone think anything's wrong with tattoos? Exactly. But in certain cultures, in certain places, that's considered a sin. And to take that step to do that is huge. And so, Ellie, we really congratulate you and commend you on your courage of taking that step to get that tattoo, because you are just liberating yourself. And when you're liberating yourself, yes, thank you. When you're liberating yourself, you're liberating humanity. You're liberating the universe. Each one of these steps that each one of us takes, however small you might think it's in your mind, you can be like, oh, that's not a big deal. Everyone else does it. I don't know why I feel so weird about it. It doesn't matter. You feel weird about it because of your life, because of your programming, because of your experience. And then to step beyond that, to do what's uncomfortable, but what feels right, that's huge. That's huge. And Kiki coming in and saying, I have a hard time expressing my feelings and emotions, and even putting words on paper, probably from growing up in the age of children where they're not to be seen or heard, and from personal traumas. So yes, Kiki, that is an experience that so many have as well, not feeling comfortable expressing emotions. which means not really feeling comfortable to express yourself and who you are. And that is our hero's journey for each one of us, is going from that place of that we're not supposed to be seen and heard for who we are, but we're supposed to be seen and heard for who we're supposed to be, and then moving into that expression. So, I'd just love to hear from, Scott, Laurie, Keleena, on some of these comments coming in from our, different audience members from all over the world, sharing their experiences. And Scott, I really loved what you said. It's really uncomfortable to change.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's where, again, faith and, really practice, and also really choosing the right friends right now. It's really important. I guess let's expand the word to influences. We've talked about the influence of media. And so really choosing, what am I putting into my body, food and water and healthy? What am I putting into my mind? What am I putting into my heart? Who am I associating with? Yogananda, who's one of my very favorite teachers, I love Yogananda, spoke a lot about the importance of discernment, right? And now is a time of discernment, to really discern, where we're going to put our attention. Where am I putting my life force? What am I putting into my body? What am I choosing to do? So may we, in this new year, really be conscious of our choices and be discerning of our influences.
I agree. High vibrational people we want to be around. It's absolutely really important right now. It really does affect not just you, but then the other people. If you go home, it'll affect them as well. So I totally believe in that.
I'll agree also. I want to say something about being our own individuals, which is really what it is. And Tangela, thank you for your courage and your honesty. But I'd also love to say you're a beautiful image of what I'll say, going against what the norm is of your particular culture, because you would never realize that about you. You've just expressed so beautifully. And I think we all have our own individual thoughts about going against society. I think it's implanted within us to have difficulty with this, because it's a certain amount of rejection that we all need to. And I just, which creates separation, so it comes down to, I am separate from whatever it is, which goes back to the beginning of when we separated from source. So this is our original sort of happening. And I wanted to just mention that as I was doing my channeling this morning, I have my usual go-to, which is Megalithicon. I call it Mega for short. It's a vast stream of consciousness of the emissaries of light, and it works with me quite often. But in the interim of speaking, Sananda and Mary Magdalene both came in this morning, and it was beautiful. They don't always, but sometimes they do. And they said one thing to me, which really spoke to my heart. And, we know things, but there's something different when something is reiterated again, because it just comes in that deeper way. And they said to me that we are the union of them in this harmonious way, and this separating and coming back together again. This is what it is, this separation and coming back. And we all find our own little way that we need to come back by being uniquely who we are. This is our voyage, so to speak, and the challenge simultaneous.
And everyone is healing and shifting cultures, programming, nationality. Does it matter what nationality I am? Does it matter what country you were born in? Does any of this stuff really matter? That's one of the things I talk about. My people, we're human, you know, we're multidimensional. We've come from so many places. We've lived so many lives. It's all in our DNA. Just be. Just be yourself. Drop the labels, surrender to all, let go of all of that stuff. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is love.
That's right. And so riffing on that, because I agree totally with you. So when we talk about love, what is love? Love is an action. And the greatest action that all of the great teachers taught us is compassionate understanding. That is how we love. We love ourselves and we love each other by choosing to compassionately understand and not just put somebody into a box or a judgment, even if the way they look or what they believe is different than you, because everybody is different on some level. And so we really evolve by making compassionate understanding our go-to at all times with all beings everywhere.
Yes, amen.
There's a wonderful practice that I love, which is, and I use it all the time, when I'm looking at somebody or something that I'm having a judgment around, and I still have judgmental thoughts, I'll take a breath and I go, wow, there's God fully experiencing itself as fill in the blank, right? And it just helps me. Or if you really want to go for it, you can go, well, there I am fully experiencing myself as that person, right? It just helps us to remember, you know, the bigger picture.
Mere reflections.
Exactly. And Scott, I love what you said about letting go of judgments and releasing judgments, because, you know, there's so many judgments we all hold within, you know, unknowingly, unconsciously. And I want to share with, you know, everyone here, like, and giving props to Scott as an amazing love coach. You know, I have my my love and partner, but you know, when we first got together, I had so many reservations. You know, actually, Laurie and Keleena also know him as well. But you know, I had so many reservations, not because of who he is as a divine human, but because of who he is as those earth identifiers. You know, he's not from my, you know, cultural background, my ethnic background, my religious background, like, you know, education, you know, like nothing. Like, so I couldn't get beyond that. You know, me, who I'm supposed to say, oh, I'm always like, I'm all about love, I'm about unity consciousness. But then, you know, the universe brought me someone where they're like, you know, you said you're here for love. And I was sharing with Scott, like, you know, I don't know about this relationship, you know, and I was sharing, and then Scott just looks at me, he's like, well, are those thoughts coming from judgment or coming from discernment? And I was like, they're coming from judgment. and
I remember that conversation. I remember that conversation.
And I just realized, wow, like I'm holding so many judgments against this person that has nothing to do with who he is. And it actually has nothing to do with who I am, because it's all coming from my programming and from my past. And so that's just to show us all that, you know, we all hold these judgments within us. And that's why, you know, I'm so appreciative to Scott for reflecting that back to me and saying, you know, these are these judgments that you're holding? What's really going on here? And we unknowingly keep ourselves from being who we are meant to be, you know, and, you know, because, you know, if I had stayed with my judgments, I could have just, you know, ended the relationship, because I couldn't have seen past, you know, these programs of, oh no, he's supposed to be this way because this is what I was taught I was supposed to be with, a kind of person supposed to be with. So I could have just let the whole thing go, unknowingly allowing my programs to decide for me rather than, you know, actually making a decision from my heart, you know, and actually acting from my heart. So wanted to share that example as just like these programs that live within us, and really how this process of becoming quantum human is moving from judgment to compassion, to acceptance, to awareness, to love. And it starts with ourselves first, you know.
Absolutely. And it is absolutely okay to discern.
Mm.
We can make a choice without a judgment, right? So noticing that, and I'm so glad that you and Charlie worked out. Charlie rocks. We love Charlie, and I hadn't met him, by the way. So it was at the time. It wasn't like I was going to bat for a buddy. It was, So anyway, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Just on learning about judgment, a big turning point in my life was when I met Marshall Rosenberg. He was the founder of Nonviolent Communication. And I was hired to do a television show with him. And then I did a series of videos. So I arranged to travel with him for 3 weeks. He had this big tour scheduled, starting in Orange County, California, going all the way up to British Columbia. And we traveled together for 3 weeks. And he was a brilliant, wonderful, amazing man. And I wanted to make a good impression on him. And about 2/3 of the way through our trip, we're having lunch, and I said something, and he looked at me and he said, "Scott, do you know how judgmental you are?" And I was shocked. I was shocked because I thought of myself as this really spiritual guy. This is back in about 21 years ago. But even then, I thought of myself as a spiritual New Age guy. And he said, "Here," I pointed out all the different things he had heard me say that had judgments to them. And I was shocked. He said, here's a practice for you. If you really want to be spiritual, just notice how many judgmental thoughts you have every day. Make that what you're going to do this week. So I did. And oh my God, hundreds of judgmental thoughts. It's remarkable how many judgmental thoughts we have. And I want to say that 22 years later, I still have judgmental thoughts, but I'm starting to now notice it. It's like, oh, there I go. Oh, there it is. Now, here's the thing about judgment thoughts. Don't judge yourself for being judgmental, but shift like she did. And this is really an important point. What she did was the question, is this a judgment coming from programming and God knows where? Or is it a discernment, right? Discernment is really important. We just talked about that. So it is important to discern versus judge, right? And I may that be part of our practice in this new year of 2023, really noticing that distinction between judgment and discernment.
I like that you brought that up. I just want to say really quick is when I work with my clients, I always tell them, become aware, observe yourself and become aware that you're doing that, but then really breathe into it, breathe into it and feel it. And you're going to know exactly where that came from. And almost every time it's either come from your father or your mother, and how you were brought up, and it's one or the other, so that you can go in and heal that and release that. And make the change. Yeah.
I'd like to share something, just a thought on the heels of what everybody's mentioning here. So Tangela, many years ago, when I first met my husband, I too had a little bit of a similar thing. I met him at a conference, and I was doing a shamanic journey in one of the breakouts, and this big eyeball came during the journey, and it said to me, "Can you see him from another perspective?" And it really opened up my whole mind to judgment is really a perspective. It's how we view something. And so I was able to shift that, and therefore I've been married for 24 years now to my husband, thank goodness, right? But also, too, in another journey I did, I met a very wise ancient shaman in this journey, and I was asking about a fear that I had. And I have a bench when I do shamanic journeying in my particular, what I call my sacred garden. I put a bench, and this wise Asian man came, and because that's the symbol of wisdom for me, he came and with just several words, he said, "Move the bench." And I love that. That is probably some of the most profound words I've ever heard regarding judgment. It's about moving my perspective into seeing something in a different way. And it just kind of grabbed a hold of me and said, pay attention. This is the way to view it. Not telling me how to view it, but the way to view it differently.
I agree.
I love that. I love that. Go ahead. It's just beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, I love shamanic journeying. Well, I love journeying of any kind because it really takes us in. It accesses what we need to hear. It doesn't tell you what to do. The masters never speak that way. They provide information. It's up to you to act upon it. Sometimes we can be stubborn and don't want to act upon it, or maybe it's a very difficult for us to step into that. We're talking here about the differences of cultures and things, that are so hard for us to break. Some of them are very entrenched and rooted within us, and they go back multi-lifetimes to other times. So it's very rooted for us, and it may take a lifetime to shift it. But I think being aware of it is one of the most important aspects to it. Is at least we're aware of it. This is the growth that we're all here for, is becoming more aware.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we have Elizabeth who just put in the chat, I am not my thoughts. I am the awareness behind them.
Right.
Exactly. And so really, this whole conversation we're having about release, surrender, and trust, it's really about releasing that, control of the mind and releasing the control of our past experiences and programs and really shifting into the I am, but who is the I am? And how do we find that? Scott, did you want to share anything?
Oh, well, I definitely want to invite people to make sure that they join the Global Peace Tribe.
Yes.
Definitely want to encourage you. And so, for example, tonight's show, we do 3 or 4 shows every week. And tonight's show is going to be amazing. I collaborate with wonderful people. I collaborate with Tangela. She's collaborating with me on a show next week.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my frequent collaborators is Jennifer Hill, who runs a company called Om Heals. And so many of her top healers are going to be on the show tonight doing medical intuitive readings. In fact, Aurora, one of your soul searchers, will be with us tonight. Kimberly Meredith is going to be doing intuitive readings for people tonight. So that's just this evening's show. And then tomorrow morning, we've got artists catalyzing evolution. So it's really, the Global Peace Tribe is happening. We now are doing retreats. I collaborated with Tangela on a retreat in October in Sedona. We're looking at doing something in Southern California in March. So it's just really easy. You can go to globalpeacetribe.com, learn all about us. And then once you're there, just click on any of the places where it says join our winter season. And there it is. That's where you register. There's Tangela. She's one of our regular co-hosts. Those are some of the amazing people that co-host with us. And we just do really wonderful shows. The show we did on Wednesday night was all about self-acceptance, because I wanted to start that right off. There's many of our love coaches on it. So definitely join us. Last time we did a beautiful show in honor of January 6th, that day that brings up so much for people. And so we brought together people about how to heal the racial divide, how to heal the divisions, and had amazing people. So definitely join the Global Peace Tribe. Come to our Awakening World shows where you get to see people, like a lot of people that are going to be on the different panels this week are regulars on our shows. So I certainly want to encourage people to do that.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott. And Laurie, would you just like to share anything about what you do and any, words about what we've been discussing today? And I'll let you guys, after everyone discuss a little bit more about you, can just we'll have some final words from each of you about becoming the quantum human.
Well, I think what I would like to share is that, and I think we all go through this, and I'm certainly no different than anybody else, is that I think there are times where when we hit the wall or we hit a glitch or a spot where what we'll call maybe the shadow side rearing up for us, and we can get, because we are knowing ourselves as becoming more spiritual, we can get on ourselves about it. I know I can do that myself. Well, I have this certain thought. I don't want to be that way. It's my choice not to be that way. So I want to move out of that. And I just want to remind people, don't be hard on yourself. It's the moment that you can shift it to whatever it is that you want to shift it to. It's the awareness. That's what we're doing. We're elevating through our frequency and coming more into that. And rather than remain in negative, just move into what you choose. Bring it forward for yourself.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Laurie. That was amazing. And people can connect with you through your website, Wellness Within, correct? I'm going to try to pull it up here. Actually, let's see if I can do that. Here we go. Yes. So all of you can connect with Laurie through her website, where you can read all about all of her work and what she does, as well as her spirit adventure tours, where she takes people on sacred site visits. I had the pleasure of being with her in Mount Shasta recently, but she is taking people through Egypt, Glastonbury, southern France, 2 trips coming up to Hawaii, Glastonbury, and southern France this year. Amazing. And of course, you can also find Laurie, as well as Keleena, Scott, and everyone else here on Soul Search.
If I could jump in for a second, also say something about Laurie and our connection. I'm zooming out. I thought I was talking to him. So Laurie is a sponsor of our San Diego conference and our Glastonbury conference. And we're helping support her in a retreat she's doing right after our San Diego conference in April in Hawaii. And then also she's going to be doing, and I think you're going to be a part of it, Tangela, a tour to Glastonbury area, Stonehenge, southern France. So we're connected on many levels. So you can also come out to these events and see her as well.
Exactly. Thanks, Neil. And thank you, Laurie. And of course, Keleena, any final words you'd like to share? And then I'll also pull up your website here as well, so let people know a little bit about you.
I feel like we've touched on so much already today that it's a lot of information. We can overload people, but you'll probably be listening later anyway to hear more. But I just want to tell people to trust in the power within you. And allow yourself to be. Stay in the heart, be in love, and express everything from your heart. This is the true alignment of who we are. And I get emotional over this because I've just been all over the world and I meet people, like I'm here on this island and it's such a mix of people from different countries and everybody just wants to love. There's not people here that are out here fighting. There's no wars going on. There's nothing. Everywhere I've gone all through Europe for these last few months, none of that stuff is happening. People don't want that. They want peace. They want freedom. They want love. Mm-hmm. And when we surrender to understanding that that's the truth, mm-hmm. I feel like that's when you've really got it. Mm-hmm. So, exactly. Yeah. I have some events coming. They're not on my website yet. I'm supposed to take women to Egypt this year. I found a beautiful community here on the island that I'm going to be talking with, possibly doing some stuff here. So, yes.
People can connect with you, with Keleena, through the website, Keleena Malnar. I know you also have a very prolific YouTube, where you have many amazing channelings, and people can also access your webinars here and your Patreon community with live classes each month where you do frequency channeling and light language key code activations and so much more. So, so many ways that people can stay connected with you and be sharing with you and your gifts. So we're really happy to have you here, and happy to have had all three of you here as our guests today. Scott, Laurie, Keleena, what an amazing conversation to really bring in the new year. I mean, it really, like, for me, it was so heart opening and so heartwarming. And just want to thank all three of you for everything that you do, and being part of this conference and really sharing with everyone here, joining us in on Zoom as well as on YouTube and Facebook, what it means to become quantum human. And as you all said today so beautifully, it starts with the heart and this process of release and surrender and just trusting. We talk about so many, cosmic activities and things that are happening, but, the whole universe lies within us, and it's right here in our heart.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you to Sheila and Alan and Neil for putting all this
Yes.
together. And it's always wonderful to collaborate with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for being beautiful host and hostess.
Yes. Tangela, this was a great coming together. You can't hear this information enough. And just to second what Keleena says, when you travel around to countries that are even at war, it's not the people the people you meet on the street that want war. It's just a couple of guys sitting around wanting power that are manipulating, controlling people. And they're doing it by exerting fear. And if we can have this kind of dialogue, we don't have to give into the fear and be controlled.
Right.
And I think
That's right, Alan.
that's our fifth level density dimension we're moving into. So people just want to live their life and love and have their family and love each other. That's the human experience, and that's the beautiful part. And we can't do this enough. So thank you for making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all. And Joan, you're muted.
Hello, everyone, wherever we are. We're all waking up, and that itself is takes such courage. And, one person inspires another, which inspires a revolution. And all of you are way showers. We're just all way showers in our own way. And we actually are making a difference. And then when we collaborate, like I tell Neil, we're reaching millions and millions and millions of people from each and every broadcast trickles out to the universe. So thank you.
Wonderful. So thank you, Keleena, Laurie, and Scott, again, for just kicking off our, one-day panel conference here. And I'm so excited that, you all were able to join us from all of the different locations. And, again, welcome to all of our audience tuning in from all over the world, which is amazing. And I think, we had so much appreciation for all of you here. Just people saying thank you. And lovely, Maureen saying, lovely way to start my day in such heart resonance. So thank you all. So beautiful to be here with you guys. So, and so if anything else you guys want to say, welcome to, and we'll be, gearing up for our next panel.
Thank you again. Looking forward to collaborating with you on Wednesday night, Tangela. We're going to be doing on the Awakening World, a show honoring Martin Luther King and his values. And then on January 28th, I'll be collaborating with Neil and Alan, and looking forward to that. So really appreciate the collaborations, and a big shout out. I see a lot of our friends from Awakening World, the Global Peace Tribe. Omashar is with us, and Josie Ann, and of course, Connie, and so many friends. So it's always a pleasure, and how blessed we are to all be inspiring each other, supporting each other, and awakening together.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank Thank you, everybody, for being awake and doing your part. Deepest gratitude. And I love you.
Yes. We all have a part, like Joan says, it's a collaboration. We all need each other. We all bring the light, raise the frequency, be blessed. Thank you.
Thank you, Laurie. All right.
You're ending the stream, Neil, on YouTube? Or? Wait, what are you saying? Unmute?
Yeah, so that one is done. I just have to do some cleanup in the chat there. Sorry about we had someone coming in trolling us. And yeah, so we're done with the stream on YouTube. So we're gonna go ahead and switch that off and we're gonna start again in a minute. So love to all of you tuning in. Go ahead and go to our YouTube pages because we're gonna be going live with the next stream